the privatization was official. It was not fraudulent.
Firstly, Jacques de Groote, welcome to our studio today. And wanting to talk about how in October 2013, you were accused of illegal activity by the Swiss courts in regards to the principal coal mine in the Czech Republic. Can you tell us a bit more about this case?
Yes, first of all, let's stress one major point. The privatization was official. It was not fraudulent, because the privatization was made by the authorities themselves under the communist regime, who sold the majority of the ownership of the mine to the public. So what the company did, the management of the company did, by a kind of management takeover transaction, was to buy shares that were already on the market. But this happened at a time of transition from a communist to a market economy, from a planned command economy to a market economy, and people were not ready mentally yet to understand and accept that a group of young intellectuals who had succeeded in obtaining the resources to buy those shares could buy them on the market. It was a market transaction, that's first thing. And the second thing, I was accused, but it was demonstrated in a very, very obvious way that I never obtained any financial advantage from this privatization process and the sale back under a management takeover transaction. So it's a bit strange, after all, that one would be prosecuted if there is no financial interest involved. And I was not condemned, in fact, I was acquitted, and I was only condemned for fraud, but also in a kind of symbolic way, because I had to pay a certain amount of Swiss francs if I was again condemned during the following next 2 years, which is already passed. But it's also strange to be condemned for fraud, because fraud is a concept that implies that you take from somebody something that doesn't belong to you. That is fraud. Nobody has ever demonstrated that I had taken anything or anybody, especially not from the mine. So it's a complex case. I tell you that it's a complex case, and I can understand why it's difficult for public opinion to understand what it is all about. I think it's only belatedly that people start to understand the importance and the magnitude of the case. Now, one other aspect that has to be stressed is that everything happened in the Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic now. The takeover of the mine by the management, which is a rather traditional management takeover transaction, the different financial transactions, except that one company was located in Switzerland. So Switzerland has used its sort of privilege of sovereign supervision of all transactions involving Swiss account, whether it happens in Switzerland or not. But the essential point is that the Czech authorities have never prosecuted anybody, and they consider that what the management did by the management takeover was a major contribution to the welfare and stability of that region. The mine employed, when it was taken over, close to 12,000 people, now about 6,000, with all families involved in that small town called Most, you know. It involves about 30,000 people, the whole prosperity, welfare of the workers, of the retired people, of their families. And it was recognized as a major success in Czech public opinion and by the Czech government and by all the people we met there. My role was only in the supervisory board, but I followed it from very, very close by, and I was a witness, first rank witness of the extraordinary progress it implied for the country and for the region.
Do you think, because you were trialled on modern day Swiss laws, the case that happened in 2013, you were trialled on modern day Swiss laws, but the actual deal took place in the Czech Republic after the breakdown of the Soviet Union. So there were very different laws in Switzerland now to the Czech Republic back then. Do you think it's fair to be trialled on modern laws when they weren't applicable at that time?
No, you have a strong point, and I agree with that. it makes the whole case even more complex. You see, the fact that here we are tried under laws that in fact relate to the use of Swiss accounts. Whether these accounts could be used for transactions that took place elsewhere is really an open question, especially even that other place. Obviously, the legal authorities and the government, including the Prime Minister of the time, who is now the President of the Republic, very clearly say that the whole transaction was to their advantage. So there is something a little bit overstressed, a little bit artificial in trying to apply very local Swiss laws to a different place at a different time also. The situation was very, very typical for the transition period from a command to a marked system, as I already said. You have to take that very, very clearly into account. People were not used at that time, neither in Switzerland nor in the Czech Republic, to accept the idea that a purchase of shares on the market is totally legitimate, and this is what happened.
And so what have you learnt from this whole experience?
Well, that's also a complex answer that I have to give. First of all, I maintain my confidence in the Swiss legal system. I believe that now we are in the phase of appeals on different cases, but mainly on the fact that my friends and colleagues from the management board, have been in first instance condemned to jail, very heavy jail terms, and the confiscation of large amounts of money that they earned by selling the mine. Of course, it was their ownership. So I personally am highly surprised that I got involved in it. I would have thought that, given my past and experience and reputation and the fact that I was not involved financially in anything, I don't think I should have been prosecuted. But I maintain my confidence in the Swiss system. We now have a phase of appeals, and I'm quite certain that this will be settled in appeals, because it is too extravagant for words to consider that my case, that a person who was not involved financially and didn't gain in anything, would be prosecuted in a criminal case. That is one point. The other point is that I believe that my experience shows that in such an important case that involves so many important national interests and images, the image of the legality and superiority of what happens in Switzerland in the court, and the image of a country that wants to advance in its progress and reforms. You see, there is a lot of image building involved, and that has not been seen and studied well during the whole time that the procedure was prepared and executed. Everything was brought back to very tiny legal artificial subtleties. That I am quite convinced of.
Well, Jacques de Groote, thank you so much for coming in and speaking with us on this matter.
Thanks. Thanks very much.
That's all from myself and Jacques de Groote today. But if you like this interview, be sure to give it a like on our website, dukascopy.tv.